Welcome back, and now it's time to start covering together the important visit of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli to China, where he participated in the 2024 China-Africa Summit. And he was there on behalf of President Abdul al-Sisi to represent Egypt and to address the gathering, and to also hold a number of meetings, not only with the high-ranking Chinese officials, but also with businessmen, with the CEOs of different high-profile companies, and to know more about the important potentials and opportunities we have not only in Egypt but on Africa, and to consider Egypt as the gate of Africa regarding China. To shed more light on the important file, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Mr. Rahman, our political and economic expert. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
And a good morning to you. I'm even more delighted to be with you.
Thank you, sir. And let's start together with the environment, with the circumstances around this important China-Africa Summit. This China-Africa Summit took place as there are a lot of tensions between the two big economies, between the United States and China. Disputes about the tariffs, disputes about the electric vehicles, disputes even about the agricultural drones of China, which some of the lawmakers in the United States said that they can be considered as a threat to their national security to that extent. How do you see the timing amid all these tensions?
Well, the timing is significant by all means. China is one of the main friends to Egypt, strategically, historically, politically, and one of the great diplomatic relations that Egypt possessed for decades since the declaration of the China Republic. And today, China has its own project to expand its existence in the continent throughout Egypt. Egypt is the gate and the guardian of the continent. And together, Egypt and China can achieve a long-term strategy for investment and creating a fine environment for investment in the continent for the best, the very best for the whole nations in China, in Africa, in Egypt. Together we can draw the highlights and the lines of that strategy to preserve the identity of the continent, the interest, the best interests of the continent, and to look out that cooperation with preserving the best interests of the nations in that continent that have suffered for hundreds of years from colonization, from abuse of their fortunes, their uranium, cobalt, raw materials, mines. Throughout our friends in China, we can build a better strategy that preserve the solidarity of the nations in Africa, as well as taking a new direction of cooperation with a country that respects that solidarity and the best interests of those nations. Also, Egypt, one of the main friends to China in the continent, as well as we are the gate of the continent. We have received several investments, Chinese investments in the Suez Canal zone, the economical zone, and the industrial zone as we see in China that model that our own economy needs, those kind of industrial projects, that kind of agricultural cooperation and industry and agriculture are the main pillars that our economy can grow up upon. China shares us lots of mutual interests. We have a strong and deep cooperation economically, and we share almost the same point of views politically, and also we have a strong military cooperation that has reached the highest level lately throughout negotiations with China on the new weapons that we will buy from it.
Sir, if you
Together
permit
we
me,
can
let's
grow
focus a little bit more on the Chinese-African relations and to speak more about the very important and diversified fields of cooperation which should be tackled, new horizons and new fields which should be invaded by China when it comes to Africa, as there are memoranda of understanding, for example, signed on the sidelines of the forum between China and many African countries, especially Egypt, of course, in IT, information technology, in renewable energy, in agriculture, in industry. How do you see these fields, and how do you see the opportunities which are opened in front of China to invest in our black continent?
Well, I believe that we have set that model of investment and industrial and cooperation with our neighbors and brothers in the continent. That model that I believe that China should take in the same sort of cooperation, building a mega project in each and every country in the continent with the cooperation with China. That would be a very significant an important sign and a good for the very good for those nations. Of course, we're talking about the high tech, the green industrial, the green technology. We're talking about the modern vehicles for the very best for those nations. They need to renew their economies and to rebuild their economies on basis of mutual understanding and mutual interest. And I believe China can achieve that and fulfill that model for them. As Egypt has proved that on some level, we can work together to achieve more and great mega projects in Africa with the same source. Africa
and Egypt can turn into a logistics hub for all these projects. And
exactly.
when it comes to the transfer of technology, for example, this can be easily implemented on the ground whenever there is the political will between the two countries. But sir, I'd like also to have a quick look at the positive impact on being a part of the BRICS now. When Egypt joined the BRICS, meaning that we are closer to the countries of the BRICS and particularly the founders of the BRICS, and of course China is included. How do you see the importance of being included in such big economic entities?
Okay. Since almost 8 years, Egypt has started taking Africa using our own economical relations and high-level relations throughout the great events all over the world, like the G7, like the G20. We have spoken and led the continent into those international mega events. On the same course, we are taking the lead in that BRICS agreement that can change the course of the international economy. And of course, Africa should be a part of that change. We are up against the battle, the most important economical battle in the world right now, which is concerning preserving the national economy against the domination of the dollar and the Western influence. With this strategy, we can share with Africa the same goal, the same targets that preserve the identity and the solidarity of their own economies too. China and Russia and the main countries of the BRICS have started that, but without Egypt, without our June 30 revolution, we would never have such a turn and a historical turn. So we can take the hands of China into the heart of Africa with the hands of the Africans.
Among the important memoranda of understanding which were signed as Prime Minister Dr. Madbouli witnessed the signing of a number of memoranda of understanding, it was about the vocational training, to have training centers, to have labs, meaning that the common projects are going to be based on scientific rules. Nothing is going to be implemented in a haphazard way or without enough and deep studies and research. How do you see taking this into consideration and to implement or to apply the Egyptian strategy of investing in the human cadres before anything else, qualifying our Egyptian youth to be able to run the coming mega projects which are going to be implemented on the ground in the very near future?
We share with China that strategy that we have started since almost 10 years ago, in the very beginning of the presidency of Mr. President Abdul, which was making that mix between the private sector and the governmental sector and the military, economical, and industrial sector. All together are taken that fine line. That fine line between capitalism and socialism. It's something in between, not leaning to that or not leaning to that. China has taken almost the same course with its own, of course, their own personality, their own vision, but we are so close in taking almost the same course. So we can share a lot of points, lots of vision. Economically, technologically, we can share those points of views. We can take the new levels and the high-tech projects with that vision that preserves the identity of our own nation, the same in China. So we can together work for strengthen our own economy, making it work stronger, faster, and even in a better way, that we can challenge and stand up to the challenge, the huge challenges we are up against all around us. Together, the world is talking with the tongue of economy, so the economy language, so we can fight back against those challenges with strengthen our own economy, strengthen our own industrial bases and pillars, and also the same with our own agricultural projects that we can work together with the expertise from China and with our own background of trust, background of that mutual understanding between two great civilizations. And that of course the sharing of almost the same political point of views internationally towards the strategic and the critical files in the region concerning the occupied Palestine, all of those points can strengthen our own cooperation.
Mr. Amr Abdurrahman, our political and economic expert, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. In fact, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli had such a busy schedule when he attended this forum in the Chinese capital, Beijing, which took place from the 4th to the 6th of September, as he met with a number of high-ranking officials. Of course, topping the list, Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, Zhao Li, the chairperson of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress of China, and also a number of heads or CEOs of high-profile Chinese corporations in different fields, renewable energy, industrial fields, you name it. And the Prime Minister was keen, even when he addressed the gathering, to speak about the priorities of our state of Egypt regarding localizing industry and the keenness of the state to have strategic partnership between Egypt and China in this domain, and to continue with working together for the best interest of both, to have a win-win situation, and to also speak about the potentials we have, whether in our, for example, economic zone in the Suez Canal, whether with our very brotherly, deeply rooted relations with our African allies, with our African states. So it can be what we call tripartite cooperation: China, our African allies, and Egypt, considering Egypt as the gate to Africa, and considering also Egypt as one of the pivotal players which can play a very positive role in the development of Africa in general, regarding our infrastructure, regarding conveying the message we already implemented on the ground: transfer of technology, development of infrastructure, whether here or in any other African country. Simply, our hands are extended with help, with support to all our African continent, to make sure that the development process is going to continue and to go on without any delays, without any obstacles on the ground, because Egypt will remain as the big sis and will remain behind any project which aims at implementing the sustainable development goals in Africa. Since decades ago, not decades, for thousands of years, Egypt has very strong relations with our African states, and inshallah we are going to continue with these strategic relations and to implement that on the ground: deeds, not words. And this is exactly the strategy and policy of Egypt: deeds, not words. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more. Stay tuned.